Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another fun and informative episode of The G Show. I'm the hostess with the mostest, Gabriella, and today I would like to welcome my guest, Janet Sears from La Maison Publishing from Vero Beach.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, I always like to say, well, I don't like to say it, but I always say that women are so underserved in the community that I try to change that one conversation at a time. Since it is International Women's Month, it should be International Women's Everything every day of the year because we make the world go round. Well, anyways, it's so interesting to have a female publisher of your own publishing house here. I think it's really incredible. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And I didn't realize, I was doing a little bit of research, that there's only 73 female-owned publishing
Wow.
houses, not in the United States, but in the whole world.
Wow.
You think that would just be in the United States. So you're one of a
It
very
is a
small...
man-dominated
It is,
field,
isn't it?
but
I wonder why that is, though. Why it's so male-dominated. It seems like there's only a couple of industries where there's more women than there are
right.
men.
I think more women go into the editing parts of it and maybe artistic, but they don't think of running it.
Really? So what was the draw to you to be able
Well,
to do this?
Actually, my first book, the first book I wrote, was about my father. We were estranged for a while, and he wrote to me and sent me poetry, and I was very curious because I didn't know about his life. So I asked him to make me some cassette tapes, and he did, and I put them all together with his poetry into a book, and I thought I had a bestseller there. So I went to New York a few times. Actually, my third time, I realized it was pitch conferences to see if you
okay.
could find a big time, one of the big five publishing houses. And by the third time, I realized that they were looking for people with platforms like celebrities, sports figures, politicians. They were looking for a name so that they
It
they
gets
would make
people
more
to buy the
money.
book. But
Right.
aren't a lot of those books written by ghostwriters? Those people don't even
Right.
put a pen to paper or
And-
even hit on a keyboard.
And it doesn't even matter if it's a good book or not. Is the name recognition that will get people buying the
Which
book.
is what they're concerned about
Right.
is about the bottom line, making a dollar.
So I realized I wasn't going to find a big time publisher. So I started thinking I was going through a divorce, and my ex-husband actually stole everything out from under me.
Oh, my goodness.
And
I'm
I
so
was
sorry to
running the
hear that.
business.
Oh.
So I knew how to run a business. And I just thought to myself, well, if they don't want me, I'm going to start my own. So I went home and I looked, and at the time I was studying French. So I looked up the publishing house in French, which is La Maison
La Maison
Publishing.
means the house, yes, I
And it
love
was
that.
available. So
Oh, wow.
I grabbed it, and I actually learned how to format and publish my own book. Which I did, and once I did, I just was writing other books, and I came to Vero and started a writers group, and then people were asking me if I would help them because the dream of this was before self-publishing, so they would send query letters and just get rejection, and it was very disheartening.
Yeah, of
for
course
them,
it is. It's
you know.
deflating when you
Right.
get told no so many times.
So I started publishing for other people, and then the industry started changing, and self-publishing became more popular. So I had to quickly reevaluate. So now I do format books. I publish traditionally through Ingram Book Company,
Oh,
which
okay.
is where the
Yes.
bookstores get the books.
Yes.
And I also publish through Amazon for self-publishing,
Okay.
so they have more control over their book.
Okay.
So I have both services, and I get a mix of both. But the book industry, you can't just write a book. It's all about marketing, and
It's so much work that's involved that you
It's a lot
really
of
have to
work.
brand yourself,
Yes.
put yourself out there, talk shows,
right,
etc.
right, yeah. So
So what do you think of the big difference, or what is the big difference between like your publishing house and then like somebody that's like doing a self-publishing? I would think that there would be a lot more one-on-one communication, which I think would be a huge benefit for the
Right.
authors that are under
Well,
you.
I'm not sure about the one-on-one, but with the self-publishing on Amazon, they make it easy to anyone can write a book and put it on there.
That's amazing, because it used to seem like before that was like, if you got a book published, that was like the holy grail.
Right.
Now they
right.
make it available.
Yeah.
But then
But
who's to know?
traditional publishing, it goes through Ingram Book Company, and bookstores will only order through Ingram.
Okay.
They won't you don't see self-published books on their shelves.
Okay, that's a huge difference.
So they go through Ingram because they get 55%
Oh, my
discount on the
goodness.
books.
Okay.
You know, and you know, they don't carry every book because if they would never have enough room. So there are little tricks that I tell my authors to get their book in the bookstore, but I always tell them, give your book free to the bookstore.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because they have to put it in, there's a barcode on the back, and they have to put it in their inventory, which
Okay.
once it's in the inventory and it's on their shelf, if someone buys it, they get alerted that
Oh,
someone
wow.
bought it and
Okay.
they're low on stock.
Oh, well, that's okay. Well, that's
Which
pretty good feeling.
hopefully they'll turn around and order some more.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if the book isn't selling, they're not going to keep it
They're
on the
not
shelf.
going to keep it on the shelves,
Right.
obviously. Now, how many authors do you have, like, with your publishing house right now, currently?
I have about 75, and a lot of them are repeat customers. Most of my authors are older, so they're actually some in their 90s.
Oh, my goodness, and they're still writing? That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
and I make house calls, so they like that one-on-one being available, not just going through a website and being, you know, not knowing who they're
There's
talking
a face to the name and a face to the voice
Right.
that they're dealing
Yeah.
with.
So I pretty much catered to an older segment that has a story to tell.
Well, I think like the older generation have so many interesting stories. My husband, when I was married, he was older, and I used to call him my living encyclopedia because he knew so much about everything. Like, he lived so much longer than I had, and he was just so smart. So what are some of the different aspects of things that you're looking for to publish a new book? To publish with a new author, I should say. What are like some of your criteria that you're looking for?
Someone that really understands that it's up to them to market their book. They have to create a platform, do speaking engagements, and talk to people, and have a website, and just be out there, because you know, with some of the authors, they think they're just going to write the book and it's going to take off, and then they get upset when no one's buying it.
Yeah.
Because, face it, there are zillions of books on the, you know, even on Amazon, there's so many books. Someone has to be on the bottom. And the way it is, if you don't come up in the rankings, you're kind of lost.
Of course.
You
So they
know.
always have to put in a lot of legwork
Right.
just to get that done. It's
Right.
not like the days like when Jackie Collins was
Right.
writing such great little fluffy stuff that
Right.
doesn't mean anything. I usually read like 7 or 8 different books at a time, all different genres. But it's not like when she would write a book and it would be automatically on the bestsellers, she'd go do the rounds and all that.
Right.
So you have like 73 or 75.
About 75 clients.
My goodness. So how is
Yeah.
it you like keep track of everybody, and like what genres do they write? Like, what's a majority? Or is there like
There's all different
different fields.
genres, and I have them on my Maison Publishing. Well, I don't have a website because it was kind of stagnant. No one really knew about it, so I put it on. Or I created a page on my Facebook.
Okay.
And I have a lot more activity. So when they tell me they're going to do a speaking engagement or they won an award, I always post it and
Oh, wow.
things about, you know, reviews and things like that. So people can get on there and look at all the different titles and the different authors. So
that are writing? And you've authored a lot of books yourself, which is
Yes.
so incredible. So how many total books have you written? Because I lost track after 5.
yeah, I think I'm on my 13th and 14th
Oh, my
book because I'm
goodness.
writing 2 at one time right now. So, yeah, I just have a lot of books in my head.
I think that's wonderful. So like, what is your process? Because you're doing like 2 different genres. Is there like a different writing process for you for like the one
it's just
versus the other?
inspiration. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I have an idea and I'll get it. And I try to write a few pages. I don't sit and write 5 hours a day. I
Yeah,
can't do it.
Some writers will go in their office and
Yeah,
they will
no.
sit, and it's like a job, and they'll write
Yeah.
till like 5 or 6 o'clock, or just write
Yeah.
until they can't write anymore.
That takes me about a year to finish one book, but now I'm doing 2 at one time, so it's going to take a little longer, and I'm like halfway on both of them.
So do you have any other books planned after those two?
Probably, yes. I'll always keep writing. I love it.
Where do your ideas come from? Because you have a lot of different genres, children's books, the story about your father, about your heritage.
Right. Well, the book about my father actually just fell into my lap, and then I started writing memoirs, my memoirs, because being the adult child of an alcoholic, I had a lot of things going on in my life.
Of course, I can imagine so.
And I was married 30 years, and like I said,
Oh,
my
wow.
ex-husband stole everything out from under me. So I
I'm
wrote
so
a
sorry
book.
to
So
hear
whenever
that.
something happens like that, I write a book about it. But I write them under a pen name because they are
So autobiographical of your personal
right.
life.
So I
Yeah, that
wrote
makes
Queen
sense.
of Hearts, which is about the women in my family, dysfunctional. It's all codependency
Well,
memoirs.
they always like to say you put fun in dysfunctional.
Yeah. And then I wrote Searching for the Shire, which was about the 30-year marriage.
Oh, wow.
And Entangled, because I actually was involved with a sociopath. He used women for money.
Oh
and
my
he,
gosh, that sounds
and
like
then
the
I wrote
Tinder swindler.
Disentangled, how I got
Oh my
away from
gosh.
him, but I put it together. So
Well, you're like a full like self-help book for like women, but I think everyone's full of stories, and I think
Right.
the stories are what make storytelling so interesting.
Right.
Because everybody comes from something. I always say everyone has a story. You never know what's happened to somebody or what's happened in their life
Right.
or anything. Well, that's really amazing. And also, I have another little fact for you when I was doing my research today. The first American female published author was in 1650. Her name was Anne Bradstreet. 1650.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
wow, that is.
And you would think like somebody would have been published prior to that
Yeah.
point, but could you imagine trying to be a woman in the 1600s trying to get a
Right.
book published?
Right.
It would be like next to impossible.
Yeah.
You had mentioned about your writer's window pane that you started in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you have that? And how you said it's like once a month?
No, once a week.
Oh,
every
once a week.
Friday. I've
Oh,
been doing
okay.
it for a long time.
Yeah.
Every Friday at the main library at Vero Beach, I have a writers group. It starts at 10 o'clock and it ends at 12. It's totally free. And you could come and go. You don't have to come it's not like attendance. You don't have
Okay.
to be there all, you know.
And can anybody like just show up, or how do
Yes.
they find the information to go to one of your
It's
meetings?
listed under Florida Writers Association
Okay.
as one of the writer groups in Vero Beach.
Okay, and then there's like so much more we can like talk about and go over, but how can like my viewers find your publishing house and find you if they're interested in possibly getting published by your publishing house?
Right. Well, they can find me, my email is lamaisonpublishing@gmail.com, so they could email me.
Okay.
They could also look for me on Facebook, because I am on Facebook, La Maison Publishing, or come to the Vero Beach Library on a Friday and meet the other authors. And
I'm
know.
definitely going to have to do that because I'm really intrigued. I won't be able to make it this Friday, but next Friday I'm definitely going to go because that
Great.
sounds so fascinating.
Okay.
Now, how many writers do you have that you?
Well, we had, before COVID, we had about 12, 13 writers. But because of COVID, a lot of them are nervous about
going out in
being
public.
back.
Mhm.
So they're coming back slowly. I had 5 last week, but I'm doing 2 workshops now for
Oh.
those that don't want to come out of their house. So we do a Zoom or a Skype in the
okay.
afternoon.
Oh,
So I
that's
do
a-
the
that's a nice
library in the
idea.
morning, and I do the Zoom.
You're
in the
a busy
afternoon.
girl, and I don't know how you
Skype.
find so much time to write your
don't know.
books because that's like so much
I have
time.
to compartmentalize.
Oh my God, I know. That's the thing that's so difficult to do,
Yeah.
like as a creator. It's
Yeah.
like there's never enough time in the day to
Right.
do all the things that you want to do.
Right.
Well, this has been really fascinating and super informative because I was always so curious. I always thought I've had a book inside of me too.
I
I've
think
been-
everyone
I
does.
think everyone does
But
too,
you know,
so
you
we'll see
can't
what
be
happens.
discouraged. And I was always told I wasn't college material and I couldn't do it, and I did it. So
I think when so many times
Yeah.
if you hear no, it like pushes you
Yes.
that much more
I
to
think
move
that's what
forward with
did.
what you want to do. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Janet,
you.
for joining me today. It's been really a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for viewing in to this episode of The G Show. Until next time.